Dramatic new evidence tonight in the fight against COVID. Research just published shows there is a high level of protection against even the new Indian variant of COVID-19, but only if you have both jabs. News welcome tonight by the Health Secretary.
This is a team effort. The whole nation is on the team, and we can get out of this as long as we all go and get our first jab and then all go and get our second jab.
Also tonight, a former BBC boss resigns from his new job after the damning report into Diana's Panorama interview as Martin Bashir again defends himself.
And it is St Johnstone's cup!
Making football history, St Johnstone clinch a cup double in Scotland. And the Queen meets the Queen Elizabeth, the Royal Navy's £3 billion aircraft carrier.
This is ITV News with Duncan Golestani.
Good evening. Stark new figures released in the past few minutes reveal a compelling reason why people need to get the second COVID vaccination. It seems the first jab only gives a relatively mild level of protection, but it is hugely increased with a second jab. The Health Secretary described the findings as groundbreaking. Our science editor Tom Clark has the details.
One of the key concerns about the Indian variant was just how well our vaccines would work against it. Well, today, a new study by Public Health England has found they work just fine, provided you get both doses.
The vaccine is effectively just as powerful as against the old variant, and what that means for everybody watching is that you've got to come forward and get your second jab. This is a team effort.
Against the India variant, the study found that the Pfizer vaccine was 88% effective at preventing symptomatic disease 2 weeks after the second dose. 2 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine were found to be 60% effective against symptomatic disease. But just 1 dose of either vaccine gave just 33% protection.
As we see more of the infections that are now happening in the country, especially parts of the country like the Northwest, with this new variant, what we want to ensure people are maximally protected. And given the slight reduction in effectiveness after the first dose, we want to get those people up to higher levels of protection.
The news comes as more surge testing began in 4 areas of West London. In North Tyneside, it's already up and running.
The Indian variant spreading quickly, and I thought it would be better to come for a test just to make sure.
I work with kids, so I thought it would be easier. I've got their little tests at home, but they're supposed to be more accurate.
The experts know the Indian variant is more infectious. By just how much still isn't clear.
We feel like we're on the home straight now. And what we said all the way through is that the only thing that can scupper us is not being vigilant enough about spread of new variants. And so every time that we let a new variant in or let a new variant spread, like now with the Indian variant, we kind of set the clock back a little bit.
After cases of the variant were found here in Rochdale, the council is encouraging everyone over the age of 18 to come forward for a jab. It goes against England's policy, which extends vaccination only to those over 32. Now the importance of second doses is clear. The question of how to prioritise jabs against a fast-moving variant will become more urgent.
OK, Tom, so it's very clear we need the second jab. What about the differences between the vaccines?
And that's one thing that came out in those data. You could see the AstraZeneca vaccine doesn't look as protective as the Pfizer one, only 60% against the India variant compared to 80% with the Pfizer. I'm saying don't read too much into that. That's what we're hearing from the experts. We don't have as much data on the AstraZeneca vaccine. Also, it was given to more elderly people as a priority earlier on who have generally lower immune responses. So it's possible we will see a stronger picture emerging as we get more data. However, this data is also, it's important to say, I should say, the data you saw there was against symptomatic disease, mild illness. It's expected you get much better protection against the serious illness and hospitalisation that really matters. So that's important to bear in mind as well. But it just shows we're in a race now, really. The first dose doesn't give you great protection. It's about getting those second doses out before this more transmissible variant, if it does start to spread more convincingly, spreads more. It's about getting those doses out there, trying to sort of race the variant, getting those second doses out there at the moment.
OK, Tom, thank you very much. A former Director General of the BBC has resigned from his current job as the turmoil from the inquiry into Princess Diana's Panorama interview continues. Lord Tony Hall stepped down from his role as chairman of the National Gallery. He was heavily criticised in this week's report into how the interview was obtained by Martin Bashir and then subsequently investigated. Mr Bashir has once again defended his actions. More on that in a moment, but first, here's our political correspondent, Carl Dinnan.
Lord Hall became the chairman of the National Gallery last year.
I think the fact that gallery was closed...
Today, he quit on account of his actions in his old job at the BBC. In a statement, he said, "I have today resigned as chair of the National Gallery. I have always had a strong sense of public service, and it is clear my continuing in the role would be a distraction to an institution I care deeply about. As I said 2 days ago, I am very sorry for the events of 25 years ago, and I believe leadership means taking responsibility."
Once the separation had occurred,
Lord Hall had investigated Martin Bashir over the Diana interview and declared him honest. This week's Dyson inquiry said Lord Hall's investigation had been woefully ineffective. Hall was also Director General of the BBC when Bashir was rehired. One of the original whistleblowers in the case said he was right to quit.
I think Lord Hall did the right thing. What the Dyson report shows is the BBC management knew that Martin Bashir had lied and fabricated documents, but they still rehired him. Why they doubled down on a man that they knew was a liar is beyond me.
The police are reviewing their investigation into the BBC over the forged bank statements Bashir used to ingratiate himself with Princess Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, although for now the government is not directly intervening.
Well, this is a very serious matter, as the Prime Minister's set out. I think that what really matters for the BBC is that they put in place what is needed to ensure that this sort of thing can never happen again.
At the Church of Scotland General Assembly today, Prince William spoke of his emotional attachment to Scotland.
I was in Balmoral when I was told that my mother had died. Still in shock, I found sanctuary in the service at Crathie Kirk that very morning. And in the dark days of grief that followed, I found comfort and solace in the Scottish outdoors.
The BBC's failings in the run-up to those days still a source of deep hurt and anger within the royal household.
And Carl, Martin Bashir has given more of his side of the story tonight.
That's right. He's given a fairly long and detailed interview to tomorrow's Sunday Times about his relationship with Princess Diana, in which he says, "I never wanted to harm Diana in any way, and I don't believe we did. Everything we did in terms of the interview was as she wanted. My family and I loved her." And he went on to say that he kept up a good relationship with Princess Diana after the interview, with which she was very pleased. And he provides evidence for this, even including a photograph of the princess with his wife just after she'd given birth. Now, you have to set this against the deceit that he used to ingratiate himself with the Spencer family, which he admits, and his attempts to cover it up afterwards, which were roundly condemned in the report of this week. And also the fact that both Princess Diana's brother and her two sons that believe that in the final years of her life, Martin Bashir did have a malign influence on her.
Carl, thank you. A photo of the missing daughter of the ruler of Dubai has been posted online, appearing to show her in a shopping mall in the United Arab Emirates. The unverified photo of Princess Latifa, sat between two other women, has been shared on Instagram. It has been claimed that she was being held hostage by her own family. A campaign group calling for her release said there have been several potentially significant developments. Here, blockades have been set up outside 4 McDonald's distribution centres. Depots were blocked by the activist group Animal Rebellion. They're calling for the fast food chain to become fully plant-based by 2025. McDonald's has apologised to customers for any disruption. And tens of thousands of people marched through central London today in support of Palestinians. The demonstration comes after a ceasefire was finally reached between Israel and Hamas, agreed after 11 days of violence in Gaza and Israel. It led to the deaths of around 250 people, mostly Palestinians. Fans and players of St Johnstone are tonight celebrating the greatest season in the club's history. They'd already won the League Cup and now they've made it a double, lifting the Scottish Cup after a 1-0 victory over Hibernian in the final at Hampton Park. Chris Scudder watched the action and the celebrations.
The greatest stage in Scottish football, the Scottish Cup final.
Fans were back for the English Cup final, but Hampton Park was empty because of a fresh COVID spark in Glasgow. Hibs wanted revenge. They'd lost the League Cup semi to St Johnstone, but missed an early chance.
Zander Clark stands firm.
The team from Perth made them pay again just after the half hour.
In comes the ball, and there is the goal! It is St Johnstone legend Sean Rooney.
St Johnstone had not won a major trophy in 130 years of trying. Now they were on course for a third trophy in 7 years. They made it harder work than they might have. Hibs conceded a penalty.
St Johnstone penalty! It is Middleton.
And Glenn Middleton missed it. But it didn't matter.
And that's it! A superb season has just become an extraordinary season!
St Johnstone become only the second club outside Giants, Rangers and Celtic to win both domestic cups in the same season. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And finally, Queen Elizabeth met Queen Elizabeth today. Her Majesty went on board the Royal Navy's new flagship of the fleet, but strangely, it wasn't actually named after her. Sam Holder explains.
Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, meet HMS Queen Elizabeth, the Royal Navy's brand new flagship aircraft carrier, getting a royal send-off before its maiden deployment. The £3 billion warship is the biggest and most powerful in the history of the fleet, capable of carrying up to 40 aircraft, which is good news for Her Majesty, who told Commodore Steve Morehouse that she was looking forward to some peace and quiet. The jets on board are normally based near her home in Sandringham. The ship is named after Queen Elizabeth I, the monarch during the triumph over the Spanish Armada. It is heading to the Far East. Its mission, a show of military strength to China, as well as diplomacy, trade, and a symbol of a so-called new global Britain. After getting a brief overview of the planned route, it was time for one queen to leave the other. The crew of the HMS Queen Elizabeth, giving Her Majesty a traditional send-off. Sam Holder, ITV News.
And that is it for now. The weather forecast follows. From all of us here on the Weekend Team, thank you for watching and good night.